So this is the part where I say, ow, fucking pinch my fucking finger, ow. Got the fucking power cable and shit. Can't forget the fucking network cable either. Yeah, get that shit in there. Yeah. How's it going, everyone? So what you're seeing right here is a IBM Model 5155, also known as the Portable Personal Computer. Now, I hate to tell you, as you could tell by the stray wires and the bare naked floppy drive, this is unfortunately the original internals. Well, they're not original. The internal motherboard did have a failure, wasn't booting anymore, and on top of that, the original power supply decided to go out on me. A transformer failed, and I couldn't source that model transformer, so I was like, I had to scrap the power supply. And I have the board sitting upstairs with all of its expansion cards. So what I decided to do to try to keep it as original as possible to an MS-DOS machine of that era, I took a late 90s Pentium 3 board, and it is installed with Microsoft MS-DOS version 6.22, but with the 5¼ inch floppy drive, you have the option of running any other kind of DOS that you wish to have. So one thing about it, the back doesn't have a switch anymore like the original power supply did. I tried doing several iterations of making a power supply unit fit in the back with a switch, trying to use the original switch as possible, till the point I broke a breaker. I actually tripped a breaker inside the house. That was a good day. But as you can tell, the expansion slot on the computer, you have one USB 1.0 board and status LEDs for disk and power. So this is the power button, so let's start it up. One more thing about it too, I could not remove the flash screen that you get for the Dell. It's actually a Dell Dimension board, but regardless, it works very well. And it took a very long time to source an adapter for VGA to composite, but it works regardless. So here's our boot screen, numlock. I forgot about that. So the original keyboard does indeed work too, as you can tell. So we've got two options on this machine. We have Microsoft Windows 2000, just so I could communicate to modern thumb drives and I could import all the files I needed, like drivers and whatnot. This has a one Ethernet driver so I could connect to the internet, and I'll show you how to do that in a moment. I wanted to install Debian Linux, like an old version, just for shits and giggles, but I decided against it. But when I put in the first CD, because at the time when I was using a CD drive with this, it was giving me an option to install. I was like, let's see what happens. And it made a permanent read-only boot file, so I can't remove this, and it will attempt to install Debian, but since it doesn't have a CD drive in the system anymore, it'll just give you a bunch of errors. So let's go straight to MS-DOS. And yeah, every time the screen mode changes, you're going to have that small little box that says NTSC. No way of changing that. It's off-the-shelf converter. So as you can see here, it booted up just fine, MS-DOS 6.22, and that's the Ethernet driver right there. So let's just do a little dir command. And the only way I got this working, the keyboard itself, I had to get an adapter online for XT to USB. So this has two USB. The system itself has two USB ports in the back. One has an extension cable that goes out here in the case I run Windows 2000 and I'm using a thumb drive. And then of course the second one is actually being used to power the converter. No wait, my bad. The other one's being used to control the keyboard. There's also a USB hub PCI card, which I use just to power up the AV converter to VGA. And as you can see here, on the left-hand side here, we've got a small little pocket to hold floppy disks. So we've got Microsoft Word on original 5¼ inch, and then these two are my own. This one's a copy of a, I believe, US Robotics modem software. It's called Data Disk for funsies. And then this one actually has source code for a game I've been working on in text mode. So let me show you what I mean by that. Let's pop that in, go straight to drive A. You've got to be fucking kidding me. Alright, so the one thing about this computer itself is it likes to be a little finicky when it comes to the floppy drive. If you move it around too much, the power cable for the floppy drive will become a little bitch. You have to shove your hand in there just to adjust the power connector. There we go, let's try that again. And now it works. So yeah, that's just one little issue, but that's a good thing why you keep the drive bay open. Not to let dust and rats get in, but to shove your hand in there to adjust the power connector. That's just something with the floppy drive unit itself, because the power connector is loose, and I didn't take the time to solder or tape it. Besides that, yeah, so let me open this up. Open up the deer. Yeah, so actually I'll do a CPM style directory command so you can actually see the files. So yeah, that's them. And so let's go over to, let's actually connect to the internet now, because you guys want to see an MS-DOS machine connect to the internet. And actually, now that I have this connected to the internet, I can communicate to ChatGPT if I wanted. I don't feel like that though. I'm not a fan of AI, generative AI and whatnot. So let's actually just go to one of the oldest internet browsers that are still working to this date, Arachna video browser. So we're just going to open it up like this. It's going to do a little flashy. And right there's the screen. And check that out. That is the main screen for Arachna browser. Yeah, it's still being updated to this day. The guy who developed this is a Czech, so it's going to be in his native language and whatnot. I don't know how to read that, but if we do F3, I believe. Oh, wow. I think numlock. Yeah, the cursor keys are the numpad there, so I'm not exactly sure how to go down. Oh, maybe. Oh, okay, I forgot. I pressed F3, which went to the browser, so now I can change the browser screen. Or, I mean, the web page. So let's. There we go. Alright, so let's go to www.google.com. Which, believe it or not, Google.com is like one of the only modern websites you could probably access on here, because the protocols for this ancient browser are very different compared to newer websites nowadays. So, like, let's say I try and go in the Internet Archive. Archive.com. Well, obviously I won't even be able to access the Internet Archive because A, at the current time of recording, there's been an ongoing DDoS attack on the Internet Archive, but as you can see, it's trying its best, and that's its little status screen there on the corner showing you it's loading, it's trying its best. It keeps doing connecting and redirecting. That just means the security protocols aren't the same or compatible with this browser, so it just won't work. So if we go back to google.com though, it's trying its best, man. But believe me, it's trying its best. There we go. Interrupted it. Let's try it one more time. Google.com. There you go. Yeah, so sometimes when it's trying to connect to other websites, it has a very hard time to. But with Google, let's try, I think, tab. Yeah, tab is what you do to... Shit. What did I do? I don't know the hotkeys for this browser, but... Yeah, this is the original CRT too, so it's going to be a little hard for you to see on the screen, but... what was the... Escape... Control... Alt F4 isn't going to work, so I got to remember what the... Oh, that was the one, okay. Yeah. Very, very cool. Beautiful. Let's do another one. Let's go to the C drive, and I can open up Windows 3.0. There it is. Windows 3.0 on an IBM 5155, which actually would have been accurate to the period. 1988, I believe, was when Windows 3.0 came out, and there were people still using this for business purposes. The IBM convertible came out in 1986, and it was still very expensive at the time, but you know, businesses back then were probably up to date on the most technology. This came out in 1983 or 1984, and a lot of businesses used this too. I really wish I could have saved the original components for the IBM, but in the end, aesthetically, it is a beautiful unit. I just like the sleek white on everything and the clicky keyboard. Not to mention the CRT screen, that nice monochrome orange or amber, whatever you want to call it. I wanted to try and do a dual floppy drive setup here, but I only had one 5 1/4 inch at the time, and I wanted to keep it a high density so I could still use it in Windows mode. The initial idea was I wanted to try and get this running like a modern version of Windows, to have it be like as a nifty kind of like setup, like, hey guys, look, I can do this. But then I remember nerds on the internet, sometimes they don't like it when people take beautiful pieces like this, excavate them for all the original parts, and then put in a new modern gaming rig or whatever. Like, I understand that, but remember, I had no choice when it came, because a lot of the parts were failing in this, but at least the aesthetic parts of it still work, cosmetics and whatnot. And I tried to keep it as original as possible without having to go out and buy another IBM XT motherboard. And a Pentium 3 is just as good. Actually, the clock on the Pentium 3 here is 500 megahertz, which is, I know it's still a lot for the time, but now that's extremely slow. But yeah, so I'm just really happy. Like, if you look at this at a glance, you're like, oh wow, someone revived an IBM, and that's what it looks like in the end, and I'm happy with how it looks. Yeah. So yeah, maybe I'll do some videos of this in the future, where I actually could get it to talk to ChatGPT if anyone's interested in that. But yeah, that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching, and yeah, subscribe if you want to see more of this stuff.